Yasodhanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodhanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodhanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Jnanatirmiyandasya Garanjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutaye Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Prasyatya Desatarne. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So if you can please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'd like to seek your blessings before the class begins, and also the blessings of those who may be listening online, that I may be able to speak something worthwhile. Vancha kalpadrubhasya kripa sindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So today we're reading from chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, text number 24. So first going to start with the Sanskrit, the Sanskrit verse, recitation. Sanjaya uvacha evam yukta rishikesho Gudakeshena bharata Senayor ubayor madhye Stapit yitva ratotamam. Sanjaya uvacha evam yukta rishikesho Gudakeshena bharata Senayor ubayor madhye Stapet yitva ratotamam. Sanjaya uvacha evam yukto rishikesho Gudakeshena bharata Senayor ubayor madhye Stape yitva ratotamam. Would anyone like to try? Sanjaya uvacha evam yukto rishikesho Gudakeshena bharata. So I think Srinivaspu was just first. If you, Srinivaspu was. If you want to continue first. Sorry, just devotee. Others not. Sanjaya uvacha evam yukto rishikesho Gudakeshena bharata Senayor ubayor madhye Stape yitva narotamam. You would like to go, Prabhu? Yeah, we'll get to that as well. Yeah, after. Okay, would anyone else like to try the Sanskrit recitation? Okay, so translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. So Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. So, and one more time. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharat, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. So if you can please repeat after me again. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharat, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. And purport. In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesh. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesha. Sleep also means ignorance. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in waking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness, or samadhi. As Rishikesha, or the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows. So Gudakesha means one who conquers sleep, and this is what Arjuna has been referred to here by Krishna. So we can see that this sleep has a double meaning here. So Arjuna has literally conquered sleep and ignorance. So what is this ignorance? So this ignorance is that Arjuna actually remembers in terms of his actual relationship with Krishna. So as Krishna's friend, Arjuna has thus conquered ignorance. So for those on the path of devotional service, this is very important. In one sense, sleep is something which refers to regulation. So it says, Nachi nastasta yogosti, nachi kantamas nastata, nastati snapya silasya, jagrato nevacharujana. That one who eats too much or eats too little, who sleeps too much or sleeps too little, that he cannot be a yogi. So this is in the Bhagavad Gita that we're told one who isn't regulated in terms of his eating and sleeping, they simply cannot be a yogi. So a yogi is someone who practices control. So this is control for focus on the Supreme. In the different steps, traditionally a yogi, they would practice all kinds of self restraint and eventually control their senses in terms of realization. So it goes on to say, Yuktahara vyarasya, Yukta chetasa karmasu, Yuka snapnava bodhasya, Yoga bhavati dukkha. So it says that for one, if one is not regulated, for one who can actually be regulated in terms of eating, sleeping, and recreation, that they can attain peace from these material miseries through the system of yoga. So from the onslaught of material energy, which is our enemy, after all, we can actually get freedom from this regulation. So as devotees, we actually engage our senses in Krishna consciousness. So this means that we engage our senses in service. That's the process, by chanting the Lord's name and rendering devotional service. So it's said in the Nectar of Instruction by the Goswamis, the Rupa Goswami, that there's certain things that are favorable for pure devotional service. So it's said, first of all, in terms of what's favorable, it's Utsyaha Nishchayat Daryat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangha Tyagat Sato Vritte Sadbir Bhakti Prasiditi. That first of all, if we want to advance in spiritual life, we have to have enthusiasm. So enthusiasm actually means, Srila Prabhupada describes it in his purport as to endeavor with intelligence. So this is the meaning of enthusiasm. So when we speak about intelligence, what is real intelligence? Is real intelligence to sit an exam? Is it intellectual? or is real intelligence to really know what this life is, what this life is all about. So this is what Srila Prabhupada describes, that real intelligence is actually know the difference between spirit and matter. So ultimately, we are a spirit soul, and we're covered by this material covering, and we're actually attached. So it says, Mame vamso jivaloke jiva bhuta sanataha manaha, which means the mind. Manaha stastan indriyani prakriti statni karsati. That we're all eternal fragments, parcel and parcels of Krishna, and simply by that our mind is actually attached to this matter. So we're struggling very hard with the senses, which include the mind. So the thing is that our consciousness is actually attached to matter. We're very deeply rooted in material bondage, and this material bondage through the body causes so much entanglement that we identify as the body as something that we're not. Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy that we're trying to actually put fuel, as we try to put fuel into the body. It's simply, he gives the analogy of a car, that a car, we try to put fuel into the car, which is simply like that we put more emphasis in maintaining the body, but we forget about the driver. So that's something that we become so covered over that we forget the true purpose of life, which is actually to realize that eternal nature as a devotee. So this is something very important. It said, Yatoyapi kuntiya purushasya vivasyatya indriyani pramantini haranti prashabham manaha. That the senses are so strong and impetuous that they can forcibly carry away the mind of a man, even of discrimination, who is endeavouring to control them. So the senses are very powerful. They're not to be taken lightly. They're no joke. That's in that sense. Srila Prabhupada said that his disciples, they're not afraid enough of Maya. So from this we can understand that Maya is very, very dangerous. Maya has more power than we have. Said that we're actually one of the energies of Krishna, which is known as the marginal energy. And it says aperam asvanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahapato edam darite jagat. That Krishna has his superior energy, which was made up of the souls, the conditioned souls, and then the external inferior energy is that of matter. So we have identified with this inferior energy, and in that sense we can get no real happiness, no real satisfaction. The spirit soul is where actually all our satisfaction comes from, which is our original constitutional position as a servitor of Krishna. So when we try to enjoy true matter, that enjoyment is what we call is our real sleep. That we think we're happy, but we're really asleep. It's that ignorance. I said in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2, text number 69, that simply by these materialists, what is their night, what is sleep for them, is a time of awakening for the devotee, in that sense, that the devotee on the path of devotional service has a completely different outlook. So this whole world is actually asleep, simply being directed by their desires for material happiness and prosperity, and they're forgetting actually about the real goal of life. So these are the type of individuals who don't actually surrender unto Krishna. So it said, Namam Duskritina Mudaha Prapadyante Naradama Mayaya Praharta Jnana Asuram Bhavamasritaha. That Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions 4 different types of miscreants. So initially, the first one is in terms of the Muda. So these are those who simply labor. They simply just labor for material enjoyment. They work hard, which Srila Prabhupada describes. They work hard like an ass, but they don't realize the full purpose of life. So their simple goal, their full attention is actually just on work. And so that's one type of miscreant. And then the other is the Naradama, that is described as the lowest of mankind. That these, and this is actually the 99.9% of the population, that they don't actually follow any real religious principles. No, actual religion is just a social convention to fit in or whatever. So in terms of actually maintaining standards of purity and devotional life, so it's actually what Srila Prabhupada describes. They might be philosophic, they have like politically and socially advanced, but it's still it's not real human life. It's simply animal life, and this is because the animals are simply under the control of their senses, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So in that sense, as Srila Prabhupada would say, the whole world is simply in the illusion of advancement. They're living like cats and dogs. So they're simply following their senses. And then there's the Maya Praharta Jnana. These are those members of society who may be very intellectual, highly advanced in terms of scholarship, philosophers, and so on, but still they don't surrender unto the Lord, so their intelligence is wasted in that sense. And then there's the Asuram Bhavam Asritaha. So these are the actual ones who are atheists. So these atheists, they don't have any knowledge of God. They don't believe in God or endeavor for God. So that's another type of what the Bhagavad Gita describes as a miscreant. And then there's those who actually, those who do at least seek knowledge, who come to Krishna. So that said, Chaturveda Bhajante Mam, that it's these are of four types. So it's Gyani Sukritina Arjuna, Arthur Jignasra Artati, Gyani Cha Bharatarsabha, that these 4 types are those who are actually distressed, feeling material distress. So distress is part and parcel of this world, this material life. And for those who are actually simply absorbed in material life, distress is a constant companion. And distress is actually Krishna's mercy in that sense, that distress is one way that makes us to think, to question life, and to say that, okay, we can eventually actually understand that there's no real happiness in this material world. And then the other one is those who are actually desirous of wealth. So that's a common thing that people actually, which isn't the right reason, but still they seek the Lord for wealth, which is a material desire. And when those actually surrender unto Krishna, he can actually, he'll completely purify all those desires which are such for wealth and so on, which are not necessary. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Laxman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki. So he'll purify all those desires for wealth, which is born of that desire just to live comfortably in this material world. But when wealth is your main desire, that's a different thing. It's a selfish desire. And then it's those who are inquisitive. They want to know about something more. So that's another type of person who will actually surrender unto Krishna. And then finally, there's those souls who are actually want to know the absolute truth. And ideally that's the one we want. So, and that's what we all, at least when we're in knowledge, that we'll actually try to strive for, to actually surrender unto the absolute truth, and to know what is our real position, what is this material world, who am I, what is my relationship with the Lord, and to try and actually know the Lord. So that's all, a part of the process. As I mentioned earlier, so sorry, I got completely sidetracked in terms of what's favorable for devotional service. But I mentioned enthusiasm, which is endeavoring with intelligence, and then after that we have patience. So patience is simply it is as it is. It's patience, just that ability to wait. I said all good things come to those who wait. And then there's confidence. So confidence, we have to have confidence. Sri Prabhupada describes that we need to have confidence that this material world will give us no happiness, that there's nothing here for us at all. And we have to have confidence that through the process of devotional service, we can loosen the knot, cut the knot, cut the bonds that attach us to this material world, and eventually awaken that relationship with Krishna. And then that karma pravartanat, that it's these different variegated activities of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandam, Sakyanam, Dasyam, Atma Nivedam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So the first of all, it's hearing. The first way to actually receive higher knowledge is through hearing. So we hear from the spiritual master. We hear from, also reading is another form of hearing. So when we read Srila Prabhupada books, this is the same as hearing, that to hear is not just with our ears, but with our heart, that we actually, through devotion, through proper hearing, we take in that knowledge. Srila Prabhupada speaks about, in terms of hearing as well, Tadvini Pratipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya, and he speaks about Pariprashnena, that in the translation it's meant to be like being submissive. So it's good we hear in a proper etiquette, not in an over-challenging mood. But Sri Prabhupada says that pariprashnena means that we can challenge. Submissiveness doesn't mean you can't challenge, but you do so in a gentlemanly way, in a good way. So that's part of hearing and actually inquiring from a spiritual authority. And then there's kirtanam. So kirtanam is actually chanting. So this is chanting the Lord's name, such as the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And kirtanam also means glorification of the Lord. And then there's remembrance as well. So that's smaranam. So that remembrance is that we think of the Lord throughout our daily life. So Savai Pupsa Pada Ravindayor, Savai Mana Krishna Pada Ravindayor, that we try and endeavor to keep our mind always on the lotus feet of Krishna, and this is what will actually to help us. So ultimately, as we mentioned earlier, that our mind it's so attached to this body, this conception of who we are, that it has to be retrained, and it takes time. Of course, we can be Krishna conscious instantly based on that endeavor, enthusiasm, but generally it's going to take time, but it can still be very rapid as well. That within that sense we can see ourselves changing, that our old bad habits will fall away. Srila Prabhupada, he spoke about a miracle in terms of he was challenged on a train in India, what miracles have you performed? So if you ever heard the saying that a leopard doesn't change its spots, so a leopard doesn't change its spots generally, it will remain the same. But that was actually Srila Prabhupada's miracle, that his disciples, with all their preconditioned life before devotional service, they had taken to the process of Bhakti Yoga, which entails the 4 regulative principles. So no intoxication, meat eating, illicit sex life, and gambling. So in this sense, they had actually changed their spots. So they had taken to the saintly life. So it said, Shisvak Bhavdi Dharmatya, Shasvak Chantam Nigachati, that when we take the devotional service, one quickly becomes righteous. And as Krishna says, declare it boldly, that my devotee will never perish. So as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nebi Bikrama Nasosti, that even a little advancement on this path can save us from the most dangerous type of fear. So all glorious things will actually come from the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, remembrance of Krishna. So actually I'd like to ask if there's any questions so far. Yes, thank you, Rajbu. I will.
A couple of questions. First question is, basically you said that someone who's fully surrendered, all the material desires get fulfilled. But ultimately, someone who's fully surrendered, do they have material desires at all?
Well, if someone is fully surrendered, then they wouldn't have material desires. But in that sense, we can be fully committed, and then there's a purification process. But for someone who is fully surrendered, it's not that we never have desires, but desires become purified. And so that's the process, that we actually desire things for Krishna in the end. So that's the actual aim, in that sense. That, for example, Srila Prabhupada, any person who's actually fully realized, their desires were only in relation to devotional service and to the welfare of others. Thank you, Rajbu. Well, it depends on that person. We have to judge that person as, even though it's not for us to really judge, but when we see someone like that, we don't know their previous life, and it may be just that time in life where they start to awaken their devotional service. And also it can be that they have somehow or other received a special mercy of the Lord as well, and through that mercy, anything's possible. There's examples like that of these individuals that have actually, in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, that have instantly achieved pure love just by the mercy of the Lord. Thank you, Boo. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, I'm quite a neophyte in that sense, but thank you. Yes, please. Thank you, Boo.
If someone got material desires, it takes a longer time to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
So there's a pastime in this connection.
Would you like the microphone? Yeah, I'll bring it.
Okay, so in Chaitanya Mangala there's a pastime how there was one Brahmana from South India, and he was from a poor family, so the family didn't really look after him, so he was asked to go to Jagannath Puri. So when he went to Jagannath Puri, he went to see Lord Jagannath, and he prayed to Lord Jagannath that please give me some wealth. And at that time, Lord Jagannath was sleeping, so he couldn't see Lord Jagannath for 7 days before the Rath Yatra or something.
Yeah.
So at that time, he was seeing Lord Chaitanya every day.
Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri at that time. But he couldn't recognize Lord Chaitanya. He didn't know who Lord Chaitanya was, but he was seeing Lord Chaitanya every day.
Yeah.
So he made a vow that within 7 days, if I don't get Lord Jagannath darshan, I'm going to enter the ocean. So after 7 days, he went towards the ocean. And as he was entering the ocean, he saw a big figure coming out of the ocean. And his figure was actually Vibhishan. Vibhishan, he was Ravana's brother, who was asked to look after Lanka by Lord Ramachandra.
Yeah.
So he came out, and he came on the human shore like a human.
Yeah.
A big figure, then he came like a human on the human shore.
Yes.
on the shore. He came like on the beach. He came on the sandy beach. He came like a human.
Yes.
So the Brahmana was thinking, this must be Lord Jagannath. So Vibhishan, he didn't take this Brahmana seriously because people try and disturb people, the sadhus in India, right?
Yeah.
So this Brahmana told Vibhishan, I am who I am, and you are who you are. Then he started walking. So this Brahmana said, actually I was going to enter the ocean, give my life, because I couldn't get Lord Jagannath's darshan. So Vibhishan said, that's not a good idea, you follow me, I'll take you to Lord Jagannath. So at that time Lord Chaitanya was in the Gambhira with his associates. So Lord Chaitanya wasn't happy. The devotees could see he wasn't happy. But Lord Chaitanya told Govinda that two Brahmanas are going to come inside. One is going to come very close to me, the other one is going to be at a distance.
Yeah.
So Vibhishan went right close to Lord Chaitanya, and the other Brahmana was at a distance. And Lord Chaitanya told Vibhishan, you look after this Brahmana. So as they were leaving, that Brahmana asked Vibhishan, why didn't you take me to Lord Jagannath? Why did you bring me here?
Yeah.
So Vibhishan said, Lord Chaitanya is actually Lord Jagannath. So then that Brahmana told Vibhishan, take me back to Lord Chaitanya. So he went back and he told Lord Chaitanya that I want to be with you now. I suffered too much in the material world. I don't want anything else. But Lord Chaitanya told him, you pray to Lord Jagannath for opulence. So now you have to enjoy the opulence. Vibhishan will look after you. And next life you can come to me. So this pastime shows that if you hold on to material desires, it takes a longer time to come to Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's the first time I've heard that pastime.
This is from Chaitanya Mangal by Lochan Das Thakur.
And I just have a question actually about that. Is Vibhushan one of these Chiranjeevs that stay for Kali Yuga?
Maybe, but Lord Ramachandra blessed him. He'll be looking after the Golden Lanka for one kalpa or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And just before we finish, I'd say one more. In terms of that, we spoke earlier about wealth, and what actually comes to mind is Dhruva Maharaj, that he had a Kshatriya spirit and he wanted a kingdom greater than his father's, greater than Lord Brahma in that sense. And within 6 months he had, due to such austerities, he achieved the favour of the Lord, but his desires were still material, and in time then those desires became purified. So it's just another example that even for souls like Dhruva, those desires to become purified, it might take longer, but still with that enthusiasm, we can still quickly get to the path. Just before we finish, I'd like to ask if there's any more questions. Yes, thank you, Boo.
How do you cultivate
Patience.
patience?
For me, patience will actually, the first what comes to mind is through our true Shastra and understanding of Scripture, that we can see what's actually happening in the material world, the three modes of material nature. So we can see the workings in material life, how things are happening, and in that sense, we can be patient, and also patience. This is just from my realization that through actually what I might call progressive living, if we're feeling that we're actually cultivating more and more attachment for things that are devotional and becoming more and more happy and fulfilled, then patience is something which will become easier to practice, that the mind will become steadier and less flickering. The flickering mind will be more easier to control. Yeah, if that's okay. Okay, so Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Sri Prabhupada ki, all glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Damodar Dāsa ki. You have to think about that question.
Yeah, it was quite challenging. At the beginning, I was half the class was the four walls or the lordships.
Yeah. I think, looking back to that, that's yeah. It's looking a good question because it makes everyone think.
Yeah.
Even someone who's not having to material desires, I'm not. Am I doing the right thing? You should do the right thing, but ultimately you should be directing it to the Lord. Drink. Fantastic podcast.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I don't have the I'm not as deeply learned.
They're both enough. You answer against it. I'm finding sharper knowledge, so you're coming back with a better seal.
Oh, yes, please. Yeah. Thanks.
Seeing if somebody else wanted to say.